Hey everybody, and welcome to a Moo episode of Indie Film Cafe. I'm your old pal, the Moo Cow, aka A Presenza, and I'm joined by.
Jonathan A. Moody, your co-host, which I feel like you're the one who should be going moo, but all right.
Damn straight. And together we are joined by.
John Ward, also known as the Holy Cow.
There you go. Outstanding. And we've gathered together to talk about a movie that I was saving for some of our kiddie shows, but I figured why not just drag it out here because it is a kids movie and a very bad one at that. And we are talking about the 1961 Japanese movie Invasion of the Neptune Men. Woohoo!
Woo!
Woo!
And either of you guys seen this before?
Nope.
No, I thought it was a Starman movie because it has Sonny Chiba. So I was convinced that it was Starman, but it's not. Yeah.
Now Starman's actually a little more fun.
God, I'm gonna be the negative guy here, like or
no,
the
you're not
like
going to be
no
the
no
only negative.
no I'm gonna be the positive guy here. But like you guys are so negative, I'm gonna be the one that's different than you guys because I actually enjoyed this movie.
All right, well, that's fair enough. Well, we'll see what everybody thinks about it after we hear some music. Moo, 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 moo. Okay, we're back. Hopefully we got music in there somewhere. And
definitely
thanks. I'm the one doing the editing there, but
yeah. Do that editing, Moody.
I actually like it because sometimes you do the moo in the middle, and I just cut it out. But now I'm not going to.
Oh, you cut out my moo.
No, I have to sometimes. You move too much.
Oh, not enough. All right, so Neptune Men. Who wants to talk about this? And by the way, this is a Sonny Chiba movie. Looks like he was 15 years old when he did this one. But yep, Sonny Chiba, the same guy who like runs around and cracks necks and beats people bloody and all that. Before that, he was doing kiddie movies for Toei Studios. So there you go.
It was so funny because seeing him, I'm so used to the Sonny Chiba you see in like Kill Bill and stuff like that, where he's a little older and more,
violent as fuck.
And he's got a little bit more weight to him, a little more meat to him. And thus he's so skinny and young, and it's just weird to see. But he's he looked like every other like actor in the Godzilla movies and stuff, So I didn't even think I had to look it up and see that it was Sonny Chiba, and I was like, that's cool,
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, so Jonathan asked me if I wanted to watch this, and I'm just like, oh, Starman. Okay, cool. I can watch Starman. And I kept saying Starman to Jonathan over and over again. And I think you said, I don't think this is Starman.
I think I said that. I think
it's
I said
Starman.
That.
Yeah, it's like it's Starman. And then I looked it up and I'm like, okay, it's Sonny Chiba. And then something said oftenly confused with Starman. I'm like, oh fuck, this isn't Starman. And so when I got off work last night, I've been watching a lot of the Tarantino movies, and I put on Kill Bill Volume 1, and right there was Sonny Chiba's name. And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot I have to watch Invasion of the Neptune Men. And I talked to Jonathan about like what version I should watch. So I started with the Tubi one, and then you add the subtitles to it. And okay, so I will admit it was crystal clear, it was widescreen, the all the physical effects look great. I love the ship, I love the missiles, I love the little ships, I love the models being exploded. I loved all of that. Even the aliens I thought were cool, except it would have been nice for them to do some sort of bleep, blop, bloop or something. They just stood there moving.
They're silent,
Yeah, which was
with
really
their giant helmets.
Yeah, just
giant helmets.
Boring. But I thought that they looked kind of cool. And I messaged Jonathan going, this movie is boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Because whenever the humans would show up, it dragged. it went nowhere. I
Mhm.
hated the kids. I
Yeah.
thought that I was watching a Gamera movie,
Yep.
and I couldn't stand them. Of
Especially when
course,
they sing.
oh my God, they sing twice, which
Hmm.
is really annoying. And of course, it's the fat little, kid with the glasses on is the one that's freaked out and scared and falls down and all that. It can't be one of the thin ones. It's got to be the fat one. And and as I'm sure if you give this movie to anybody that knows what they're talking about with, I don't know, a scientist, I don't know what these people's names would be, like what profession they are. But as I'm sure if you, since they gave out so many A's and B's and 1, 2, 3s and Star Trek techno babble, that probably nothing in this movie is legit.
Nothing.
Because I'm looking at the computers going, not real. Everything they said, I went, not real. I give them credit for making all this crap up, as I'm sure to a kid, because like you said, it's a kid's movie. It probably seems legit,
It's
look,
a
they're
kiddie
scientists.
fantasy where these little kids are granted access into all of the adults, the important adults who are making all these great decisions, but these kids can just wander in whenever the hell they want. And of course, they don't just wander in, they run at breakneck speed everywhere. You never see them just walk. It's ridiculous. And they just make up really weird shit. There is such a thing as rhodium, but there's no such thing as panomium or whatever the hell they were talking about.
Right. It was funny
The
though. There was
electro
one
barrier.
there was one scene that cracked me up. It's when like the kids were like, "You didn't, you never said you're sorry for, for what, for not believing us and everything like that." And they're like, "Oh, we're sorry." It's like, "Oh, we don't believe you now," or something like that. And then the guys just like the journalists,
Laying
just
on the
kind of
ground smoking.
yeah, and then they're like, "You guys are terrible journalists," and they're like, "Okay." Ha, ha,
I was
ha,
going
ha,
to bring
ha.
that up. That's the only scene I liked with the kids is they're walking along, and yeah, and basically everybody who said they were wrong, that they were stupid kids, they laugh at, they point at, and go, you suck. You
Yeah.
guys should get fired for being
Exactly. You should be
reporters.
fired. They said that to him. They said you should be fired.
You should
And
be
I
fired.
laughed my ass
Yeah,
off.
and then even the woman in it, like the only woman in it, they even mock and then laugh at her as she runs away.
I know, she should have smacked the shit out of them.
I know. They're
That
just
was
laughing.
the only scene I liked with the
It
kids.
was just so weird though that the guys are just like, "Ha ha ha, go away. You're just stupid kids."
Well, they're kids. Why would we believe them?
I was really hoping that the aliens in lipstick were going to blast them, but no, didn't happen.
No.
Yeah, what was
No.
going on with what was it, Kabuki?
Yeah, so this is,
Soldiers?
like I said, this is just a child fantasy. And not only that, this is a Japanese child fantasy because this whole thing is actually, when you look at the subtext, is kind of sad. Because here's Japan in 1961 valiantly trying to say, hey, we're not the little country that got humbled in World War II and got the shit kicked out of them. We're right there with the United States because we're fighting these space aliens and we have this electro barrier and only we can stop stuff. And then like some of the aliens, when they shoot the real soldiers, they become shadows against the wall. And I'm like, oh my God,
I love that too.
Nagasaki right there.
But it was cool.
It's an outline of
Yeah.
them, and it's got like the char marks
right
Yeah.
coming off of it. And it actually, that's what I'm saying.
from
Everything minus the people was great.
That was
If they
from
cut all them out,
when
it'd be
they
awesome.
dropped the bomb. That really happened. And it's
That would
like,
be Hiroshima.
yeah, so they cannot get past all of this. It's just
Well,
so
didn't
funny.
they have like a scene like I didn't notice it or whatever, but I read somewhere that there was the scene where like they dropped the bomb on or they blew up Hitler's bunker or something like that, or
Yeah, that is a scene, and a bunch of the other invasion stuff was actually stolen from one of their earlier films. It's called let's see, I wrote it down here somewhere. It was yeah, World War III breaks out in 1961. They released that earlier, and they simply took footage from that film and they reused it in this film. So
Wait,
yeah.
for what I noticed, the Godzilla footage, like the original Godzilla footage, was in this.
Yeah, there's some of
What
that
what
too.
was Hitler's bunker scene?
Yeah, that's later on when the aliens have the little bitty ships and they're flying around blowing shit up. And one of them, I guess this is supposed to be in Europe, but it's Hitler up there with his arm off and blowing up. His billboard got blown up. But what that was is, for whatever reason, in 1961 they had an advertisement to translate Mein Kampf into Japanese, and that's what that billboard was advertising. So, but it just looked
Shit,
bad.
I totally missed that. I would love to have seen that.
Moody, we're not hearing you. Your mic is out. Step up the mic, Mr. Moody. Make your voice heard.
Pretend we're all naked. It's okay.
All right, can you hear me now?
Now we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, good.
I want to now. I want to go back and find that scene. Except, I don't want to watch it for a third time because Moody told me that he was watching the Mystery Science Theater one. So I thought,
boo,
okay,
that's a cheat.
yeah,
No. That was after I'd already.
Yeah,
watched
he
the
watched it
original.
after.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
after
no.
I watched the original with the subtitles, I wanted to watch something American, and so I thought, well, let's check out the Mystery Science Theater. Except I don't like Pearl. I don't like that whole part of Mystery Science Theater.
I do too. It's like I hate
it's
that part.
Yeah, I don't like Pearl and all that. And then you have somebody else doing Crow
Pearl and Bobo, come on.
No, don't like it. So I said, no, I'm not going to do this. But I did find on YouTube just that version, but without Mystery Science Theater. So it was like a Gamera movie. You know, it was just
that's the one where he's called Space Chief.
Yes. And I was hoping
Iron Sharp.
I liked Orange Sharp, but it was like, what?
So weird. But I was disappointed because I was hoping it would, one, the dialogue would be crazier.
No.
Two, that they would maybe have the aliens say something. I mean, just pay one of the guys who's doing the voiceover to maybe do some bleeps or gaaks or whatever it is.
Bitty.
Yeah, something like that. And that's Herbie. Is that Herbie from Buck Rogers?
Buck Rogers, yeah.
I forget what the alien, Herbie or Blueby or something.
Or something, I forget.
Yeah. And then, so the aliens didn't talk. The dialogue was changed, but not radically. And there was no additional scenes because you have that American in there, that like old white guy,
right,
who's just always standing there. And they're like, Colonel Smith here, Colonel Sanders is from the United States. It's like how
he's the American we found wandering around Tokyo. And
but wasn't one of them was like one of the people, they said Richard Matheson as his name.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, that is awesome. That was incredible that they did that. And I looked the guy up, and he's apparently, I guess, an American that works in Japan and does Japanese movies as the American that they always get.
There you go.
That's funny. But
the
give
token
him a line
American
of dialogue. But he says nothing. He just sits there and he claps from time to time and looks shocked, and he does nothing. So for an American release, maybe give him some lines and then add those into the American release. But the American release is literally just a subtitled version of what I watched. So I kept dozing on and off during it. But now I want to see I didn't catch the Richard Matheson thing. He's my favorite author. And I missed it. And I missed the Hitler comment.
This isn't like the original Godzilla, where they did the Japanese version and then they did an Americanized version with Raymond Burr, where they added in extra scenes and extra dialogue and extra stuff in order to make the Americans kind of, get into this more. Now, the reason is because Toho was a bigger studio and had more money. Toei was another studio that was around at the same time. The thing was that they tended to focus on kid movies and anime and TV shows. Remember we did the movie with the Kamen Riders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are the Kamen Riders guys, and they did a whole bunch of other TV shows, mostly for kids, and that was kind of their thing. So
wait, was that Toei?
That's Toei, right?
Okay.
Whereas Toho, they got into the monster movies, but they also did like the samurai movies, and they did a whole bunch of stuff. They were a bigger, more prestigious studio. But Toei is still around. They got into some animated stuff. They're the ones who did Dragon Ball Z and some other animated stuff. So they're still around. They're still putting out content. They're just kind of like a step sort of below Toho. So in case you guys follow any of the Japanese films and things like that. And John Ward, did you notice the little toy robot, Robbie the robot from Forbidden Planet?
That I did catch, and I laughed at that. Yeah. Oh, and also remember, since we're naming names, Raymond Burr's character in the original Godzilla is called Steve Martin.
That's true. It's true.
So in Godzilla 1985, he's just Mr. Martin.
Nice.
Okay, nice. But I never got into Godzilla movies, the monster movies. I know you guys. Well, I know Paul for sure because he talks about this all the time. That was part of like his Sunday ritual. That's what he'd be doing now if you were a kid, watching the Sunday Kung Fu Theater or whatever, or Saturday or whatever it was.
Saturday.
But me personally, I never got into. I was on, Saturday morning cartoons, then I went out to play for the day, and then I come back and I watch Snick on Saturdays, So I was a completely different generation than you guys. Whereas, the stuff that I watched and stuff that I did, that's different. So now that I watch Godzilla and stuff, I'm interested. Like we watched a really shitty Godzilla movie for Patreon only. That Paul picked, like Son of Godzilla.
Oh, that was the kitty one.
Yeah, Son of Godzilla or something like that. It was awful.
I'm sitting by myself because I got no friends.
They're doing that now, even with the new Godzilla stuff. Like if you remember the new Godzilla that came out was pretty dark and really well made. And then all of a sudden now with the Kong, it's all kids. They're now aimed at children. So these things seem to start off as like the original Godzilla did with, Hiroshima and the bombings, and then he gets created and wipes out Japan, and then all of a sudden it turns into kids' movies. But now they seem to be doing the same thing with these current Godzilla movies.
Yeah, and Toei
I'm not liking that.
Doesn't do that. They're more into like more Power Rangey kinds of stuff.
You said like Ultraman, right? Like Ultraman
they ended up going into Ultraman. They did a whole bunch of that thing where it's mostly people in costumes running around doing fake fighting.
Larry Butler did the voice in Ultraman, and then Ultraman stuff, one of the newer ones or whatever.
Yeah, they're still pumping out Ultraman. It's amazing.
So,
and I worked on a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger show.
Did you?
Yeah, that's fun.
Which one?
I was a PA. I guess the original show, because I only saw the two villains, of course, the fat guy and his little sidekick. He always wore like a vest, like
the thin guy. But there's a fat guy and a thin guy.
Were you like the little fat kid with glasses who ends up running behind everybody else at the end and hides?
I went, well, of course it's the fat kid that does this, but at least I'm represented on screen, and that is very important these days. Otherwise, I would have to have this movie canceled because I'm not represented in it because it's a bunch of very thin, taller kids. So,
so again, Toei isn't quite the same studio as Toho, so they never actually got an actual proper theater release in the United States for this. It went right to TV in 1964. And it kind of pretty much got slagged off because I guess people thought that this was like the Japanese version of Buck Rogers, only 30 years too late. And it kind of sort of is. But, there's just weird stuff that happens that, again, from a child's point of view, kind of makes sense, but not even back then. Because, for example, like dude in his little stupid little car plane thing, so flying around fighting. It looked so terrible, it looked awful. And here's the thing, the Japanese at that point had fighter jets. They had the Japanese self-defense army or self-defense force. They had jets. You never saw a single one. You know why? Because they couldn't afford that.
Right.
That's why they have
there is stock footage, car. I would think. I mean, if they could use stock footage from Godzilla, which is even their company.
You would think so.
But yeah, it's really funny how he would, every time the kids would come to him, he would jump into the into the thing to get away from them, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, almost
It
like he was running away.
I
And I
know.
thought it was going to turn out to be the teacher because he goes, "You already know my name."
No, I thought he
And
was
I'm
the
like,
teacher.
"Oh, is it the teacher?"
He's the research assistant dude. The research place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I thought he was like the teacher of
But
the
isn't that
thing.
No, these kids just show up at these underground research facilities because,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
one of them
'Cause-
is related to the old guy, and so they all get to get in.
Oh, okay. I see. I didn't get that from it. I just got that the kids got to come and, you
I know it
know,
feels like it's their school, but it's not. They just don't have any security whatsoever in Japan.
apparently not. They could just run in and be like, "Hey,"
Not even military secret facilities. They just
and they're
these
like,
kids wander in.
they're bringing in alien stuff to them to look at. Like, "Hey, is this alien?" And I'm like thinking, "Oh my God, that's
Radiation.
like who? Yeah, radiation, or who knows what else." Could be that could be, like we don't know if it's alien, and the people are like, let me go test this
And
out.
then it's just so funny. It's like, oh my God, the aliens made it cold for like half an hour and then it warmed up, so we're okay.
Well, no, I liked that
The
everything
hell?
went backwards, like the clock went backwards and
Yeah,
all
that was
that's fun
dumb.
stuff.
That
But
was dumb.
I thought that was a kind of a cool like thing for, and now that
That's
you're
a
saying
cheap
it's a,
one, that's for sure.
I don't know, geez, you're harsher on this movie for
I'm in the middle on this. I like half of it,
you
I
like
mean,
half
I
but
of
I
it.
like
hated all the human
I
stuff.
like some of the stuff, some of the things that John mentioned, but other things just irritate me. Like, come on, why are they wearing those stupid giant clunky helmets? Not only outside, but they do it inside the spaceship too. What's the point of that?
Well, I mean,
Because they're just going to look Japanese, and so it's going to be like
But
Godzilla
that's
movies
okay. They
where the
established that
aliens come
later.
down and they're all Japanese.
They established that later. They're Japanese with ridiculous makeup on.
I just thought they just took the human form for to disguise themselves, and that's
Well,
why
because they do when
because
they're killed, they change back into
yeah,
the aliens with the
exactly.
helmets.
So
With
I
the
thought
helmets.
yeah, so I think that's what they are. Those are what the aliens look like. They have the big helmets. Like that's their face is the helmet,
But then
you
why do
know.
they have the thing for the eyes?
Right.
I don't because in real life somebody needs to see out of it. That's the
That's
only
true.
reason. But I
Oh,
mean
to go
it's
back to the car for a second,
You're like,
it
oh.
looked great while flying. And then, of course, when he's driving it on ground, it's like like it's about to
Oh
break
yeah.
down. And then all of a sudden it lifts off and it flies and it's perfectly fine, but it looks like a piece of junk when he's
Yeah,
driving
somebody
it.
clearly jury rigged that in like 10 minutes. It looked bad.
mm,
Looked unsafe. And Sonny Chiba, I mean, it's so funny. He looked pretty damn thin and spindly as far as a superhero. When he was doing all his shit, I was not buying that whatsoever. I'm like, man, he looks like more like a dancer than anything.
I know he kicks like double kicks in the air, and I'm like, isn't that a dance move right
Like
there?
no force behind it at all, you
I
know.
know, but like that's what I expected him to do, though, because this was like, remember,
It's
this is
very Power
1961,
Ranging.
very Bruce Lee like too. Like I felt like if this were a Chinese thing, Bruce Lee would have been involved.
I don't
You
know.
know,
Bruce Lee sells it more. It looks like he's actually putting some force behind some of those blows. Sonny Chiba hadn't quite figured that out yet. He's going to later on in his
when he
career.
does the Street Fighter series,
Yeah, he's a lot more of a dancer
Love
right
those.
at this point, and it just doesn't
Well,
sell.
and if it's aimed at kids, it's probably not meant to be violent.
Well,
So,
there's that.
because he's moving pretty slow, and maybe with the helmets that these guys are wearing, he can't really kick. Because
hmm
maybe he'd kick the helmet off or he
yeah.
might injure somebody. So
Yeah,
it is more of a slow kick,
it
you
just
know.
doesn't look very good. But again, yeah, for a little kid, I suppose you'd be all right. But I just know when I saw this, I was a little kid and I thought it was baloney back then. So,
Oh, it's funny because I didn't think of it as a little kid movie, not until you guys brought this up, and now I get it. But like, I guess I'm still a little kid because I was like very entertained by the whole thing. I just thought even the stuff that I guess people think are boring with the people, a lot of it's science facts or whatever. We should have had Lenore be on here and give
oh my
us
God, she would have run rampant.
yeah. Um,
I like the models. That's one of the things that
Yeah.
Toei and Toho and those guys, they tend to use the same special effects folks, and those model things are super good. Now, every now and again, it actually looks like a model, but even so, it's still really, really well done. And I like it when modern filmmakers will still utilize it, kind of like in Dark City. Those models and The Crow, those model sets looked really, really intricate and really cool. And somebody has to sit there and put all that shit together. That's
The art
amazing.
director. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I like I like the scene where the buildings were blowing up, and shit. I thought that was pretty cool. Like
yeah,
they were getting blown up. I
Yeah,
mean,
that stuff looked great.
that
I
looks
know.
really good.
So like, see, this is why I was like, because I was looking it up and I heard like apparently this was the hardest movie for Mike and company to do for Mystery Science Theater 3000 because like John, they found it boring. And so it was hard for them to make fun of something that they found boring.
Hmm.
And I was like thinking to myself, well, I don't get it as far as me watching it. I get it as far as maybe, reviewing it and stuff like that, like making jokes when people are talking the whole time. You can't really make jokes like that all the time because you might miss something that, that needs to be
Well,
said or
yeah,
whatever.
and I think the primary problem with the film is the story. The story just doesn't make a lot of sense. There's just goofy, weird shit that happens. It's, when they talk about the aliens invading early on and they're all worried about it and all they have is their electro barrier thing. And then they're like, all of a sudden these missiles pop up. I'm like, well, where the fuck were those things earlier? Why didn't you shoot that shit earlier?
Well, what's the time frame on this? Because one, why would they have the defense thing around the planet, which I loved? It reminded me of Highlander too. But it's how long did this take to develop? I mean, are we in real time here? Is this 1961?
This is
And how
definitely
and
fantasy,
yeah,
Japanese
I mean,
child fantasy.
and then they keep saying that they're developing stuff, that they're making stuff. Well, shit takes time to make. I mean, that's what always cracked me up with like the Star Trek movies or Star Wars or whatever it is. Anything that's really science fiction, stuff takes time to make. You can't just make a Death Star. You can't
Right.
just make, a TIE fighter or an Enterprise. Those things will take like a decade.
Even with automation.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time. And so how long did it take to do this force field around the planet or anything else that they were developing? Is this over 3 days? Is this over one day?
Which,
Is
come
this over a
on,
year?
is it going to be Japan who develops this? The ones who still have bombed out from Hiroshima? No, I don't think so. It's going to be the United States.
Well, of course, but they've got, I mean, it's a Japanese movie. They got to be
Right,
the
right.
heroes, and everything. It'd be maybe it wouldn't be United States now. I don't know. I don't even think like something like that is like impossible. So like
Oh yeah,
once again,
no,
it's
there is
fantasy.
no electro barrier that's going to protect the Earth. That's just silly.
Right. Because I mean the Earth is pretty big. I
And
mean
then it
when
all comes from one power plant? No. In Japan? No. It's silly. It's just silly.
Well,
I know.
but they did have their nuclear facility explode, which I guess
Yeah.
we're supposed to take as the alien, and
And
that's where the Godzilla footage
and then they
fit
send
in.
that little probe down, and it turns out the probe is a message, and the message is them telling them what they're going to do next. Like, here's a big giant hint, guys. This is what we're going to do next. Okay, why did you bother to do that?
Well, I don't know if this is in the subtitled version, but in the English version of it, the alien says, "You're childish, like space shield. You're childish." I don't think it's too childish. It stopped
No,
you.
no.
It did its job. And the doctor guy's right. He's like, well, it's not going to destroy anything, but it will stop things. So, how
Yeah.
do we get it to destroy things? And it's just like it's. I thought that there was some interesting stuff in this. So I think I'm in the middle of you two guys on this. Like if you cut out almost all the human stuff, I could enjoy this for maybe what 15 minutes of its alien attacking. I'd be happy.
Yeah, there's definitely portions of it that are fun, but there's, in total, it's just a lot to slog through, especially like I said, when I was a kid and I first saw this, and I was just like, okay, I want to see the spaceships blowing up stuff, but everything else I don't want to look at. I can't stand these kids. They just drive me crazy, and it annoys me that 2 seconds ago, Iron Sharp didn't exist. Okay, and then they're like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we had this hero?" And then he pops in, and they just accept it like that.
This is why I didn't like the Mystery Science Theater 3000, because they don't even have the part where they explain who Iron Sharp is and stuff, and then all of a sudden Iron Sharp exists, right? So like it cuts it out, making it look like Iron Sharp already existed the whole time and that they didn't just make this character up. And I was like, okay, that just completely changes the tone of the movie, because when I watched it, all I could see is this is literally kids dreaming about what, this is a kid's fantasy.
Is this a dream then?
It's
is this
not,
like Godzilla's revenge,
like a fever dream,
where the kid believes that he's a monster and the bully is a monster, and like, did this never happen then?
It's interesting that you mention that, because that's pretty much what happens in that Godzilla's son revenge thing that we did, because the kid has to make up all of these fantasies to overcome the shitty life that he leads. That would actually make a little more sense, but no, this is just a straight up dumb kiddie fantasy.
Well, then so that doesn't make any sense when they're saying we should call him Iron Sharp, right?
And poof, there he is.
And then all of a sudden, this guy, this Sonny Chiba, is Iron Sharp, and
they
everything.
just accept it. It's
and
like, okay.
And he's like, who I am, And
but is he is he one of the scientists? I didn't get that. I thought he was like a completely different person.
No. He was the assistant guy. He was Shinichi Tachinaba. That's the guy. Remember? And
you might as well be speaking Japanese.
The older guy was always like, "Where's Tanaba? Where is he? I don't see him." And then because he's off doing his thing, and then he shows up, and he's like, "Oh, where were you?"
And is that it? Like, where? Oh my God! They can't be in the same place at the same time.
He's like a Clark Kent kind of thing.
So he should be wearing glasses.
And that's the other thing.
I did not catch that. That's another thing.
Why does he have to have a secret identity? Why? Why can't he just be Iron Sharp?
Because he needed to be because I swear to God, I think this was a fantasy, because they know who the guy is.
Right.
The guy is the person that they go to for that stuff. He was the one in the beginning of the movie that's talking to everybody, like telling them about explaining everything to the kids. Like he is like
that's Sonny Chiba.
Yeah, and
the guy who's explaining to everything to the kids. At the very beginning.
He should just be Iron Sharp the whole time.
That's why he's so small.
It's like Santo. Okay, remember the Mexican wrestler Santo?
Yeah,
Santo is Santo no matter what, throughout everything. And people go to him, they talk to him, and he's Santo. He's fighting people, he's still Santo. It doesn't matter. He's never anything other than Santo. That's the way Iron Sharp should be, in my opinion. He should just be Iron Sharp and be done with it. You know what I mean? Why bother having this other alter ego that you have to worry
because
about?
It's Superman. It's Superman, literally. Like you just said, he has an alter ego. He's not in the same place at the same time. The only difference is he doesn't work for the Daily Planet. He, or whatever. He's not one of the journalists. He's I guess he's a research guy, scientific research guy, but he's not one of the journalists, And I love that.
I get it. It's just dumb. It's unnecessary.
I didn't get it at all.
I love the scene where the journalist guy is like saying, "Okay," to the camera guy, "Go follow the kids." And and the guy's like, "You believe these children?" And he looks over at him and like, "No, but just in case, go." Right? And so the guy has to follow them to the thing, and then just like gives up before they.
And then he takes the car and drives off and leaves these kids in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, wait a second, but it's okay because they ran like 7,000 miles anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
They don't care.
Well, and why does a picture of something shining mean that there's an aliens? It could be a hubcap, or a piece of glass. Why? The kids did find something. I guess that's what was reflecting, but all of a sudden, must do more research on shiny thing that could be anything. It's maybe somebody threw a beer bottle
There's
out.
just
I mean,
lots of goofy shit, when Iron Sharp is like hundreds and thousands of feet in the air fighting these damn things, and yet the kids can still see him and they wave, and he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." No, I'm sorry, this is a cartoon.
Yeah,
Please.
I
this
mean,
is
maybe there's something missing in translation that we're not getting because it's Japanese. It's like all the J horror that Americans cannot reproduce. We miss
I
the
mean,
the the total meaning of the Grudge and all this type of stuff. We don't get it.
yes
That's
and no. I mean, come on. I've seen just about every Akira Kurosawa film, and if you didn't have subtitles on there, you could still understand what's going on. He's
yeah.
that good of a director. You know what's going on. You can follow the story without it.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the director. Who is the director of this movie?
This
Misha
director is
Kafubi.
Ota, and he
Oh,
only
as
did a
well.
few things, and so this is one of the few. He was more of a producer, but he did, I think, three or four other small things, but this really wasn't his thing. So that's the other reason why I think this movie doesn't do so well. This wasn't like one of the Toho guys who had done hundreds of films, because that's what they did. That was their bread and butter for a long time. This guy only did it a few times, so I mean, it
Yeah.
looked pretty good. It looked a lot better on Tubi than when I remember as a kid. It looked fantastic. It's just story wise, it still has the same problems, even if you could see it better now.
Well, I'm glad that I did watch the Tubi one with the subtitles because like I said at the beginning, it was crystal clear. I mean,
Mm.
it looked Blu-ray, and I really enjoyed the camera work. I thought the camera was always moving. It was
Mm.
dolling in. It was pulling out. They were doing angles. They were getting they were following the action well. It was like, wow, this is really well
And
shot.
it's a better film than the dubbed version, if you ask me. It's a better
Oh my
trip.
God, the dubbed one that I watched on YouTube, that had to be for television because it was the little screen,
Yeah,
the little
yeah,
square, and it just looked like shit. And
it
But
if that
did.
is the version that I would have started off with, I think I would have messaged Jonathan going, "No, I'm not going to finish this.
That's
This
that's
is
why I chose the Tubi version,
well,
because it looked much better.
and that's the one that they do on Mystery Science Theater 3000. They do the
Right,
dubbed
right.
version, and I think there's a lot of stuff that gets mistranslated with it. There's a lot of stuff that gets
Well,
like
that's probably
a
the
lot of
one
stuff.
that they could get the rights to.
Yeah, but but to be honest, it's not fair to the movie. It sounds bad, but I think if somebody watches the 2B version, that they may have a better time. They may
Yeah,
not. Like
well,
they
it
may not enjoy
happens.
it.
I mean, you look at Hobgoblins. Hobgoblins is a better film on its own than the Misty version. It really
We
is.
we
It's
did that. We
surprising.
we reviewed that,
Hmm.
for Indie Film Cafe. I
I
enjoyed
mean,
that
it's
movie.
still a silly, ridiculous film, but it makes more sense when you see that they don't have to chop out stuff in order to make it fit into their program.
This is why I don't like the new Mystery Science Theater 3000 because they went to like newer stuff too, and they did like Dr. Mordred. I'm like, can't make fun of Dr. Mordred. It's already making fun of itself.
that's
Right.
why I didn't like when Mike did it by himself, but for Night of Living Dead. And it's like, no, come on, no, not this.
Yeah,
I know people got pissed off when they did the movie because it was This Island Earth, and that's considered to be a classic,
right.
and not a bad movie.
Mm.
So people criticize that, but right after the movie is when they went over to Sci-Fi Channel, and they could only use what was in the vault. So if Sci-Fi Channel had rights to it, they could do it. So
Right.
who knows? Maybe at one point they're like, "Well, shit, we're gonna have to do this, even though we find it boring, because Sci-Fi Channel owns the rights."
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
So it's
And the
problematic,
movies,
unfortunately.
yeah, the movies weren't as good. That's why I don't like that time period. Things changed
Well,
too
let's talk about like
much.
the new ones like that didn't have Mike. It had like Felicia
Patton Oswald
Day.
is in it, and
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Felicia
You're
Day.
talking about, yeah, the
the
reboot.
Netflix reboot because I feel like they ran out of like they didn't do a lot more. They did Reptilicus, and stuff like that, but then they did stuff like Dr. Mordred and some Full Moon movies, and I'm like, the
I,
Full Moon movies already make fun of themselves.
I
Like,
don't I don't mind the movie choice. My problem with the reboot is that it just wasn't as funny. They just didn't
Yeah.
have the
Right.
writing that the original ones had,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's hard. It's not like
oh, sure.
we don't do that, like we respect those people who do, who write this out. I think we're more like Red Letter Media where we watch it, then we go and review it. We don't write the
Mm,
jokes out and stuff. We kind of just review based on what we just saw,
right.
and stuff, which I think is the better way to do it if you're not a really good writer, and stuff. So,
Well, plus that's their job and they get paid for it. So
right.
we don't have a week of time to just give to a movie and write jokes. I mean, I certainly don't. You guys are lucky I'm
Yeah.
here to begin with.
Yeah, oh yeah. We're lucky we have you whenever we get you, Paul. So, even if you look like a cow right now, you
Damn
know.
straight.
But if he gets mad, then we have to tell him, don't have a cow.
Don't have a cow. No. There's not much else I can really say about other than most of the actors were folks who, other than including Sonny Chiba, worked for Toei Studios, so they were in all kinds of other Toei Studio productions. So if you're familiar with those guys, you're gonna see those same faces. The kids did totally remind me of the Gamera kids, those annoying Gamera kids that are just pop up everywhere. Um, they drive me crazy, and I don't know. I don't know what to say about that other than that.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't like the singing. I thought that was stupid. But especially like when they're like holding,
Yeah,
holding each
nobody
other,
does that.
like especially dudes. Like I'm sorry, no little boys actually touch each other like
Not
that.
even in
That's just
1961 Japan. Nobody
Yeah,
does
no, no. That's not that's not allow like normal, but and then they're singing some song or whatever and I'm just like,
that. It's
okay, that I could skip.
the
Like,
Iron Sharp theme is what that is. The Iron Sharp theme song.
uh,
It's
I
Iron Sharp. He's so wonderful. Aren't we grateful? Yay, Iron Sharp.
yeah, pretty much. But anyway, like other than that, it was I honestly was entranced by it. Like I liked it. I had a fun time. I mean, from start to finish, even the stuff that I guess would be normally considered boring, I was into. Like, I wanted, when they were going around the site, was the all the political stuff with it, and everything, and people discussing stuff in that big oval, was a table, and they're all discussing how to destroy this thing, or whatever.
I
I
mean,
was all for it.
I will say this about the film. Even though I think a lot of the visuals look silly, they didn't look cheap. It wasn't. We're not talking Ed Wood here. They spent some money on the effects, even if the results look kind of silly looking. Some of it looked pretty darn good, and you can tell that there was some professionalism in how they did the FX and how they did the art direction and how they did the models, how they did the explosions, how they did some of the other stuff. There were times when you could tell that there were things happening in another film that they just kind of pasted over. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure if that's because the movie we saw was the Blu-ray version and that sort of thing sticks out more. I remember noticing that more this time around than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it didn't really pop out at all, but it certainly popped out. Like some of the explosions definitely looked like they were not there in the background, that they were just added in later on. So that was kind of I don't know. It just kind of kills the moment for me. But overall, it definitely had some decent technical stuff. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it reminded me a lot of Earth versus the Flying Saucers. Just
Yeah.
not as good.
Wow, that's
I
fair.
mean, I don't think I've even seen that yet. I'm sure that's one of the ones we'll end up watching for like
Oh man,
Patreon
that's a
only or
great
something.
one.
Like
That thing
Ray
scared me as
Harryhausen
a
light.
yeah,
Yeah,
that thing scared me as a kid. I mean, there's a thing with the brain, what the aliens do with human brains that scared the crap out of me.
Mhm.
nice. I'm sure Paul will pick that at some point for a
Oh
Patreon
yeah,
only
oh
or
yeah, oh
something.
yeah.
Or
And we will probably do, if not one of the Gamera ones, at least one of the Mothra ones, because they have the creepy little midget tiny girls that sing the egg, protect the egg. Those are really weird too, and it's just funny how these Japanese movies have their own little cadre of strange characters.
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, I think I was just like worried that all of a sudden at the end it would be a kid waking up from a dream, like the fat kid who fell down or something woke up and all of a sudden, like that this whole thing never existed, and I would be like, come on now. I mean, even if it is like probably a fantasy is the idea, that I at least don't say it, you know. So let me enjoy the fact that, all this crazy shit's happening all
And
span of like one day.
at least what you're seeing is the professional, real version of these things. This isn't like the cheap Sampode Sands, Thai ripoff where they just spend like the least amount of money possible and it looks like shit. You know, this is at least, clean and sleek and it looks good. And, the lighting was good and the sound was good. And, all the production elements are there, unlike a Sampode Sands film. So, yeah, we'll have to show you some of them, John Ward. I'd love to see your reaction to some of those.
Some of them are not. They're bad, but they're fun bad.
Yes,
I enjoy them. But I don't know if John's like trusting us anymore. Like he's like where he was already telling us before. He's like, I'm done. I'm done. And then I ask him, he's like, all right, I'll come back. And then he's like, I'm bored. Come on here now.
This one is like, this one was okay. These are the type of ones I could do. I just found it just like, fuck, come on, have something happen. The beginning is really boring. And then once the attack starts happening, it's like, oh, okay, now I'm into it. But these are okay. I can do It Conquered the World and I can do Mothra and I can do it's, I just don't like the Ferguson type of stuff.
Well, no,
Yeah.
but you even said like you weren't even into Bonnie and Clyde versus Dracula, right?
Oh my God, that was boring as hell.
Right.
I liked it. I thought it was cute.
I thought it was cute and I enjoyed it. Like but you said
I don't know how you could call it cute.
Yeah, it was cute. And
not a Care Bears movie.
That's my kind of Care Bears movie.
Care Bear. I'd like the Care Bear stare, but
no, that thing was long as friggin' hell. I mean, it's like, come on,
It's just, the dumb stuff just sticks out of me. Like, okay, the Neptune Men. Why do they call themselves Neptune Men from Neptune? You don't have a Greek god in your freaking world. You're aliens, for God's sakes. You would have your own name that you would use, that you would tell people.
And then we translate it to Neptune. Because what is going on with Neptune? Apparently, we know Mars.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It seems.
Well, I think that's why they didn't want to do Mars and they didn't want to do Uranus. They didn't do Uranus.
Nobody wants to do Uranus.
The ships could come out of the brown hole of Uranus.
Damn straight.
Yeah. But like you had to choose a planet that's not Mars, Neptune. I mean, back then they could have done Pluto because Pluto.
We will do Devil Girl from Mars at some point. Trust me.
That's a good one.
That's a fun
I
one.
like Devil Girl from Mars.
Yeah.
I even have the soundtrack to that. That's a good one.
Nice. Well, we'll invite you back for that one.
Yeah, that one I can watch. I think I saw it at the same time as, was it Monster from Green Hell?
Uh-huh.
The one that I think that was like a double feature with it when I saw it.
Nice.
Those are both good.
Yeah, trust me. There's a ton of these older films that I'd like to get through. So at some point you're going to see more of them.
So we've discussed this before, Paul. But like given was it the last Patreon only that we did, and we did Ray Dennis Steckler's movie, The Incredible Strange Creatures Who Stopped
Living and Became
Zombies. And I didn't like it, but I don't know if I was in the mood at the time or whatever. Maybe I was in a like stressed out or anger, whatever it was. Was in the mood. It didn't go well. Didn't like the movie, like from whatever. And you love the movie. It's when you're not one of your favorites, but you love it.
I recognize it for being stinky, but I still love it.
Yeah. And then I watched this and I'm sick and I'm loving it. I don't know. I guess it's just the mood.
Because you're just a kid at heart, man.
Yeah.
I'm the kid, period. Like I still act like a child, and stuff, which, I guess.
The kid with a beard.
Kid with the beard. I didn't come out like this though. That would be But that's the thing. Like I watched it and I thought, oh man. So, and then I was watching it going, why did Paul pick this? Because he has kids in it. And he hates kids in movies, like being the leads. Like, like you
I do.
Yeah.
because
I
they're
don't think
annoying.
I
They're
don't think you're
super annoying.
I don't think you're a Goonies fan, or
No,
whatever. And
That came to mind while watching this.
right, that's the first thing that came to my mind is, oh, it's a Goonies adventure with Japanese. It's a Japanese Goonies adventure, and
as as
I
a
like that.
matter of fact, I just picked up a film, and we're going to do this the next probably one for Film Freaks at the same time that Stand By Me came out, which I thought was an okay movie. The exact same, almost the exact same plot was, I guess you can't see it, but I got River's Edge, which was the same time,
Hmm.
same thing, much better film, much more adult, much more my speed of a film than
Right.
the Kitty one.
Yeah, it's
It's
more of
got a
a
good director on it, isn't that? Was it something Hunter?
Tim
Tim
Hunter.
Hunter. Yeah, yeah, he's a good director.
Yeah.
mm. I've heard of it. I mean, I know
Oh, we're
I
doing it for Film Freaks, so don't you worry. I got the Blu-ray. It'll be great.
okay. And yeah, it's got Keanu Reeves. Wow. All right.
Yep.
Cool.
And Crispin Glover and Dennis
Was
Hopper.
that before he was nuts or while he was nuts?
He's kind of always been nuts, but no, he did.
That's what I would say.
He did a really, really good performance. People forget, in addition to being nuts, he's also a really good actor.
Yeah, I guess that's what helps, his nuttiness helps him become a good actor,
Mhm.
you know. All right, well, I think is that about it? Does that about wrap this up for this and we're gonna do the rating?
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to do Invasion of the Star People because I know I've shown that to Gary and he absolutely loves it.
Well,
So
we did
sorry,
Invasion of the Star Creatures.
yeah, Invasion of the Star
But we
Creature.
already did that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure,
Okay.
so
But
that's why I went with this one.
yeah, this one's good choice. I actually
Invasion of the Saucer
I
Men.
think
We could do
every
that one.
I think every year we should do an invasion movie,
Sure,
Yeah.
plenty of them.
I know you do.
Invasion USA. We could do Chuck Norris.
No, thank you.
Get all American. Woohoo, America!
There's actually that's a remake. There's an earlier one from the late '50s. It's
I own it.
Also
Yeah.
called Invasion USA.
Yeah, it's a Russian film, like
it's a Russian scare movie.
Yeah.
Wait, so
Red
it's
Scare.
Invasion USA, but it's Russia coming to USA to invade us?
As you do.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah, during the Red Scare, I bought a few of those from V VMC VLC, whatever that one is that released like the Street Fighter movies and whatever that company is that released a lot of that stuff. They did a bunch of the propaganda movies.
Oh,
Cool.
okay. Nice. Yeah, this one's a little bit of a propaganda film, I think.
yeah.
Trying to make Japan look bigger than it actually is, but it's the way it is. So
All right, Paul, explain to everybody what the stinkometer is.
So yeah, this is the part of the show where we rate our movie from 1 to 10, by which the lower the number, the better the film. And the higher the number, the more stink there is. And if you're feeling subtle about your score, you could go a half step, a 3.5, 6.5, whatever it is you think it is. And then we take our three scores, we add it up, and then we find where on the ladder of stink this movie happens to be. So while this movie does have a odor of stink to it, we have seen far worse films than this. So I don't expect this to rate too high, but you never know. People have reactions and emotions and feels and stuff. So I guess we'll see where it ends up. So I'm going to go with you first, Mr. Moody, since you seem to be the positive angel.
Well, okay, so my original thought was way lower than probably what after talking to you guys and everything, I kind of went up. My original thought was 4, but I'm gonna go up to a 6. I think the movie does have some stink to it, but like the stinkiness in this movie is so much better than the some of the crap we've seen,
Oh
where
yeah.
where you can't hear, you can't see, people just talk and walk and do nothing, at least where they're trying to do something, it just doesn't make any sense, in
Hmm.
this movie or whatever, because yeah, they're making up words and other things, because as you said, this is a kiddie movie, so kiddie movies are gonna have made up words that they're not gonna know is real or not. And me, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know anything. You could make up a word and say something, and I could be like, I'm gonna have to look that up. Is that a real word or is that not? And stuff. So I mean, this movie this movie got me like that. So I enjoyed it. I felt like it was a fun movie, but it does have a little bit of stinkiness to it and stuff. So I will admit that. And so I'll go with a 6.
Okay, that's fair. Mr. Ward, what about you?
I'm gonna go 8.
Okay.
Okay.
What reasoning or
For the most part, I did think it was boring. Like I said, I liked all the destruction and everything. I thought the camera work was good. So that's so that's why it doesn't hit a full 10. But I didn't like the kids stuff. The scientist stuff I thought was way too talky. Even for a kids movie, I think kids would be, if this is on TV, then, you'll have blabber techno talk and then it goes to a commercial. And then the kid could go grab something to eat, take a leak, do what they want, and then come back. But if this is like in the theater, I would be dying.
Oh, yeah.
And there is way too much techno babble in this. So
Mhm.
I'm not, I could go closer to maybe a 7 than a 9, but I'm gonna stick with the 8 because I like all the effects and camera work and stuff. So it doesn't get a full 10.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm kind of pretty much in that ballpark. I was going to go 8, but I think I'm going to go 8.5 because you bring up a good point. When I saw this as a kid, I remember being bored for the exact same reason that you did. Now, I watched it multiple times because there's definitely parts of it that I liked, and it does still have that nostalgia part for me. It's just that there's so many dumb things that they could have it would have been so simple, and it doesn't matter. You shouldn't downplay stuff to kids. Kids are not stupid. Okay, that's the biggest problem I have with a lot of Hollywood movies, and I guess also with foreign films too, is that they just kind of treat kids like they're dumb, like they're not going to catch some of this stuff that doesn't make sense, and they're like, yeah, we are. We're not stupid. Okay, we might be a little bit more inclined to put aside that if you're telling us a good story that makes sense and is fun, we can forgive that more as a kid, but doesn't mean we don't pick it up. So that kind of irritates me. But if you're going to sink yourself, and if you have the patience to sink yourself into this film and let it go, it can be kind of a fun movie, especially if you've never seen it before, which is kind of why I wanted to save this one for little stinkers to see what a modern kid would think about it. And I still might do it. If we end up doing that show, I don't see why we couldn't also give this to them just to get
yeah.
a modern kid's take on this. So it definitely has some stink problems, but it's also got some good stuff. And yeah, I'd say an 8.5 is fair for me.
Well, and
Um
it's nice that the kids get revenge. The girl, you suck, and the reporters, you should be fired, and
Yeah.
they get a little bit of justice. So
so this got a 22.5, you know,
Okay.
which ranks it up with Crater Lake Monster, Wonton Ton, the dog who saved Hollywood, Monster, Attack of the Killer Chickens, Corn Man, an American vegetable hero, and that's it. So
Okay.
and Citizen Kane.
I don't think Citizen Kane gets a 22.5 on the Stinkometer
It's because
scale.
it didn't have enough kids running around screaming and terrassing all over the countryside.
And saying you're fired,
Look,
you know.
that's an alien. Oh, let's all immediately run there.
Yes. That's all like, oh well, you guys go over there. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, those adults did not care what happened to these kids. It was just let them run out into that field. Like Paul said, radiation.
Talk about Gen X feral kids drinking out of the freaking hose. That's them.
I remember those days.
There you go.
Oh Lord. But they could go out and play and everything. It didn't even matter because like they were like, oh, we're gonna stay out here all night, and I'm like thinking, what about your parents? Do like they care about you? Like,
No parents whatsoever.
That's
yeah,
what I'm wondering. What
apparently.
is the time frame? Is this all in one day? We start off in the morning and we end late afternoon with the aliens being defeated.
It's
don't
really difficult to say.
I don't know. There was no like fade out to fade back into the next day or
There's no
something. You
establishing
know,
shots anywhere that really tells you what's going on and where.
no, we have no idea. So it could be any time, but I don't know. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was a more fun movie. I mean, this is coming from the guy who actually gave Creeping Terror an 8, and I will not take that away.
Oh my God, I give Creepy Terror a 1.
Oh, you love
That's
that
funny.
movie?
It's
I
so bad it goes all the
love
way
Creeping
around.
Terror. I have the soundtrack, which is just a download of the movie, just done as an MP3. I got that double feature that also has the making
Yep.
of.
We're supposed to for
I
Dockside at some point.
love Creeping Terror. Absolutely
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
I love
And
it too, but there's no way you're never going to convince me it's not a 10. It's an 11.
No, it's no. I disagree. I thought it was. I think I give it an 8, and I.
Because everyone I've shown it to who's not us, who watch bad movies for a passion, hates that film and just thinks it's
No.
the worst thing they've ever seen.
No.
Well, I mean, but those people, they don't know about
Normies.
the movie.
It
They
goes
don't
right
know
along
that.
with like Monster a Go Go and a
Oh my
bunch of
God.
these
I haven't even
movies.
showed them that yet. I've been
Love
saving
Monster
that
A
one.
What was the one you did on the boat? The horror something on the boat. The one you showed me and Jen and I on that. I think it took place on a boat. If I'm correct. You're looking at me, Paul, like confused cow. So I'm gonna have to look it up. It's something. I think it was from season 3 or 4. No, it's 4. Oh yeah, Ship of Monsters.
Oh, Ship
Uh,
of Monsters. Yeah.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
fun.
that was fun. That was enjoyable.
But there
Um,
are good ones out there too. I mean, there's like the Slime People is awesome. The Flesh Eaters, that's awesome. Horror Party Beach is awesome.
Playing Night from Outer Space is awesome.
Which
I don't
one?
know about
The
Plant or
original.
Party.
And I like the
Beach. That's
remake
pretty
because I'm
bad.
in it. So
Oh, Plan 9. Plan 9 for me would get a 1. An absolute 1. If I
Playing
could
Night
go
from Outer
below
Space.
1, yeah, I think it's a brilliant film. It's excellent, and I don't think that it should be listed as a bad movie. I think
It's a bad
it's
movie.
just a low budget sci-fi movie. I think it's
I mean,
great.
it's got problems like, the cardboard headstone fell over, and stuff like that. Like
It's bad, but
that
it's fun bad. It's probably one of the most fun bad films of
like
all time.
yeah, and Bela Lugosi when he's playing the thing with his or well, no, it wasn't even the
The
Bela Lugosi, the other guy.
chiropractor,
The chiropractor
clearly.
accidentally, you know, like, something happened with this thing, you had to go and,
It's just,
it's just bad, but
for
it's fun.
normies, that's the
Love it.
film that defines bad movies. Whereas for us, quality stink veterans, that movie is nothing compared to the
I
stuff
mean,
we.
I can't call it a 30, that movie, because even though it has a lot of stink to it, it's fun enough where I don't, I just
Dude,
can't call
I've
that.
been saving Monster Go-Go because it is bad. It is torturous. It is
I
so
love that
boring.
film. It's produced by
It's
H.G. Lewis. It's great.
And the thing is, I mean, they famously said that was the hardest and worst film they did on Mystery Science Theater because it is a
Yeah,
slog to
said
get
that
through.
about this one too,
Well, there is a channel. It's called Funboy Flicks, but it's weird movies with Mike, and he reviews all this stuff and gets into detail, and it's very good. And he talked a lot about Monster a Go Go. He
Mhm.
gave a lot of information about it, and I love that channel. Like he did Madam Web, which is probably one of the best reviews I've ever seen.
Plus,
Um,
it's got that one thing that Moody hates more than anything else, and I'm not going to say anything more past
Oh, I
that.
already know then. I already know. Then
So
it's
we're going to save it.
Dream.
We're going to save it.
which one?
I'm
Monster
guessing this
Go-Go.
Monster Go Go.
I have to save up my passes from Jen. I've kind of spent a bunch of them lately, so I got to build up some more goodwill with her before she'll let me
No,
inflict that kind of film.
I love Monster Go Go because it's the same story as The Incredible Melting Man, as First Man in Space. It's all about the guy that goes up into space, gets hit by a bunch of asteroids or something, and then falls to Earth and turns into some sort of flesh-eating monster. And I love that type of story. So for me, Monster Go Go was awesome, and it makes no sense because it's
It
two
makes no
movies
sense.
combined. So
Yeah, it's bad but fun. I like it. So,
So real quick though, here are some Mystery Science Theater 3000 movies that were hard for them to do. All right. One of them was Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Oh yeah.
You know,
How was
the
that one?
the Castle of Fu Manchu,
Hmm.
Red Zone, Cuba.
Oh, we're gonna do Coleman Francis. Trust me.
Speaking of, I think didn't he also do Beast of Yucca Flats,
Yep. Yep.
and then The
Red Zone Cuba.
Starfighters. So those movies were some of the hardest ones for them.
Which are some of their best
I
ones.
know, but those were the hardest ones for them to do because
Yeah.
I
Usually
love Coleman Francis.
the
Flag on the
worst
Moon. What is
films
amazing?
usually make the funniest episodes.
yeah, the hardest films, I guess, right? Because
I
they have
keep
to really fight.
forgetting. I've got all three of this Coleman Francis trilogy, so we have to do this one in season 8, man. We
I
have to
know.
get the studio.
Well, I mean, well, we gotta like the biggest problem with the studio is, I mean, we've got what's it, we've got to do the Criterion Watch and Film Freaks next, and then we got to move, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think when we move in, we'll be christening it with our own Indie Film Cafe episodes and stuff. You know, next Indie Film Cafe episodes, which will be great.
Yeah, and
I
I've
think
been
that'll
so
be.
busy at work I haven't been able to push that envelope, but I'll see if I can do that this week.
Oh yeah, you gotta do that. Yeah. Well, it's not due Monday, thank God. It's not due tomorrow, but due next Monday. So you'll be good, or the Monday after, because it could be the last Monday, and that's fine.
Okay.
But you got some time. But I'm gonna still push you to do, like, hey, you got that done yet?
Yeah, because I'll forget.
I know, I know. I have to remind. We sometimes we have to remind Paul to come on the show, call
Yeah,
him
'cause
up and stuff.
like today, I woke up like I slept in, so I didn't. 15 minutes before the show, I'm like, I gotta go get some food. I'm start
Mhm.
driving away, and then I'm like, oh shit, I got this. I gotta come back. So yeah, I'm gonna go find some food next.
Okay. Well, I ate like right before here or whatever, but uh, I've been sick, so I'm not doing anything today. I'm just kind of relaxing, you
All
know.
right.
And
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I'm glad that there's at least a little bit of fun with this film. It was stinky but fun. And
I
thanks,
liked it.
Mr. Ward, for joining us.
I was just
Of
afraid.
course. Thanks for having me.
I was freaking out when John was sitting me going, "It's so boring." I'm like, "Come on, John, don't bail out on us. We've had too many people bail out."
It was boring until the aliens decided to attack.
Right.
But it was layers. It's like, oh, kids finding a spaceship, great, it's Gamera, and then it's like, okay, fine, and then all of a sudden we're getting the moon or the Earth covered in a shield, and it's like, okay, and then all of a sudden we get the attack, okay, and then once it starts, and now the aliens are coming down to Earth, okay. So I got kind of more into it as the movie went along, but man, did it take a while. And the film's only like what, an hour and 13 minutes, and I was
I'm
still
the
like,
one who's always complaining things are slow. I don't even know how they did not bother me at all. I don't know. Maybe I'm changing. I don't know. Maybe everybody
It's
else is becoming like that.
probably the mood you were in.
I
dude, I'm
guess
buying
so.
Shakespeare movies now and trying to learn the whole Shakespeare thing. So,
Yeah.
I would have never been into that before.
Yeah. I mean, everybody changes and evolves into whoever they are. So, wherever they're becoming. So thank you guys. Thank you, John. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for picking this, Paul. I actually
Thank you,
had a really good
Paul.
time, and like I can't wait for us to do another one. We've got another episode coming up. So thank you guys. Enjoy it. Have a good one. We'll be
All
back
right.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.